What's good, everyone? This is Monaro and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to cover chapters 26 to 33. Hope you enjoy.
Fear has become a part of Arya's daily life as she walks the hard, rutted roads among a group of prisoners of Gregor Clegane and his men, a kind of fear she had never known until she was held captive in that storehouse at the shore of the God's Eye. They spent 8 days in the village and are now leaving on Clegane's command, and every day she has seen someone die. The mountain came into the storehouse each morning after breakfast to pick one of them to be interrogated. The village folk did not dare to look at him, maybe hoping they would escape his attention. But there was no way to hide from him, no way to be safe. He just chose whoever he liked. There was a girl he picked on the 4th day who had slept with a soldier 3 nights running, yet the soldier said nothing. There was an old man he picked on the 5th day who had mended their clothing and declared so often that his son served in the city watch or did all for Joffrey that the other prisoners had actually started calling him all for Joffrey. There was a young mother with a pox-scarred face who had told Clegane everything she knew on the expectation they would spare her daughter for it, only to see her daughter be picked the next morning to make certain the mother held nothing back. The interrogations always went down the same way. They were done in front of the whole group so that everyone knew what happened to rebels and traitors. They called the ordinarily looking man who did the questioning the tickler. He was assisted by Chiswick, the old stoop-shouldered man who smashed Arya's head when they caught her, or by someone else, with Clegane just watching and listening until the prisoners died, which they invariably did. The questions were always about valuables or food hidden in the village, about the whereabouts of Beric Dondarrion and the size of his band, and about who of the villagers had assisted them. They found a few valuables from the interrogations, but only got wildly inconsistent information about Dondarrion and his men. The longest someone survived the tickler's treatment was until evenfall. The bodies were hung by the fires as food for the wolves. The time in the storehouse has taught Arya that she is no water dancer. Syrio Forel would never let them knock him down, take his sword, just watch as Lamy Greenhands was killed, or sit meekly by in the storehouse doing nothing while others died. She hates the villagers for being sheep, almost as much as she hates herself for being a lamb, not a direwolf as the sigil of her house suggests. By now the Lannisters would have taken everything from her: father, friends, home, hope, courage, needle. They broke her wooden sword in front of her. They have even taken away her secret of being a girl. She was able to pee in privacy at the storehouse, yet on the open road that is not possible, even though she tried to hold it. Hot Pie gaped at her when she skinned her britches at a bush in front of all, but nobody else even looked. Clegane's men didn't care at all. Their captors have forbidden them to talk, and they punish those who disregard the order, as Arya has learned herself by getting her lip broken. They smashed with a spiked mace the face of a boy who couldn't stop calling for his father. Then Raph the Sweetling killed the boy's mother as well when she started screaming. Arya sees no purpose any longer in being brave, so she watches people die and does nothing. One woman who was questioned tried to be brave, but she died screaming just as the rest did. There are no brave ones left on this march, only women and children and very old or very young men. The other men were chained to the gibbet and left as food for wolves and crows. They only spared Gendry because he admitted that he had forged his helmet himself, as blacksmiths are too valuable to be killed. The mountain tells them that they will be taken to Harrenhal to serve Lord Tywin Lannister, a last chance given to rebels and traitors, which they should take. Obey, serve, and live. Arya hears people arguing about this when they go to sleep that night. An old woman laments that what is being done to them isn't just, as they didn't commit any treason. Dondarrion's men just came and taken everything from them, as Clegane did. Unlike the mountain's men, the Dondarrions did the village folk no harm, though, another woman points out, and Thoros of Myr even paid for what they took. Only with signed papers, the old woman replies, and those don't lay eggs as the chickens they took from her used to. Having made sure that no guard is looking, she spits 3 times for all Lannisters and Starks and Tullys. An old man says that the old king would never have stood for this sin and shame. Arya, forgetting herself, asks whether he is talking about King Robert, but the man meant King Aerys. Then a guard interferes, the old man loses two of his remaining teeth, and everyone falls silent. Besides the prisoners, Clegane's band is also taking pigs, chickens, a cow, and 9 wagons of salt fish to Harrenhal. The Mountain and his men are riding horses, but the captives have to walk or are killed if they cannot keep up or try to flee. The guards pick women at night and go into the bushes with them, receiving almost no resistance. There was one girl, prettier than the rest, who had to go with 4 or 5 different men each night until she finally hit one with a stone one day. Clegane himself beheaded her with his massive 2-handed greatsword and made everyone watch. He commanded that the body was to be left for the wolves. Arya has a side look at Needle, worn at the hip by a black-bearded, balding man called Polliver, thinking how good it is that they took the sword from her, as she would have used it to stab Clegane that moment, and that would likely have ended with her being left as food for the wolves as well. Polliver is hardly the worst of the lot, Arya thinks. By now she knows every one of Clegane's men, when they were only nameless strangers the night she was caught. It's important to keep in mind who of them is lazy or brutal, smart or stupid. The one they call Shitmouth has the foulest tongue she ever heard, yet he will give you an extra piece of bread if you ask, while jolly old Chiswick or soft-spoken Rafford will only hit you. Arya observes them and listens to their talk, polishing her hates the way Gendry used to polish his helmet. She hates Dunsen for wearing Gendry's helmet, Polliver for taking Needle, and Chiswick for thinking he's funny. She hates even more the people she knows are responsible for the death of ones close to her. Raff the Sweetling for the death of Lamy, Omri Lorch for the death of Yoren, Meryn Trant for the death of Syrio, the Hound for the death of Micah, Ilan Payne and Joffrey and Cersei for the death of her father, Fat Tom, Desmond, and the rest, even for the death of Lady Sansa's direwolf. The Tickler is almost too scary to hate, though. There are times Arya almost forgets that he is coming along with the band, as he is completely inconspicuous when he isn't torturing people. Just another soldier and actually quieter than most of them. Arya has started whispering to herself the names of the people she hates. She does it every night now. In Winterfell, she used to pray with her father at the Godswood and with her mother in the Sept, but on the road to Harrenhal, whispering those names has become the only prayer left to her. Finally, the trees give way to a more open landscape of hills, streams, and fields, and the occasional burnt holdfast. Another day's march, they get the glimpse of the towers of Harrenhal rising hard against the blue of the lake. Prisoners keep telling each other that things will get better at Harrenhal, but Arya is not sure about this. She remembers old Nan's stories about this castle built on fear and with mortar black heron mixed with human blood, but where he was roasted with all his sons by the dragons of Aegon the Conqueror nonetheless. The castle is only a few more miles off, Arya thinks, yet they walk almost 2 more days before they reach Lord Tywin's army, encamped west of the castle in the scorched remains of a town, the stench from the overflowing latrines greeting them as they approach, telling Arya that the army has been here for some time. The sheer size of Harrenhal makes it deceptive to the eyes from afar, yet the gatehouse of the castle alone is as large as the great keep of Winterfell. Arya can only see the tops of the 5 immense towers from outside. Seeing their grotesque and misshapen form, looking like an old man's gnarled, knuckly fingers groping for the sky, she now believes every word old Nan told about how the stones melted and flowed like candle wax, turning into a searing red as they sought out Harren where he hid. Happai does not want to enter the castle, declaring that there are ghosts within. Chiswick gives him the choice of joining the ghost or becoming one, so he walks in with the rest. In the echoing bathhouse, they have to strip and scrub themselves in tubs filled with hot scalding water, the process supervised by 2 fierce old women who talk about them like they are newly acquired donkeys. When they examine Arya, Goodwife Amabel is dismayed about her feet, while Goodwife Hara has a closer look at the calluses she received while training with Needle. Hara believes Arya is a farmer's daughter and got them from churning butter. She tells Arya that she can earn a higher station in life if she works hard, but will be beaten if she does not. Asks for it, she does not dare to give away her true name, nor does she want to use Ari. Thus, she says Lami called her Weasel, the name of the first girl that comes to her mind. Amabel thinks the name is appropriate. She declares that Arya will lose her hair as it is filled with lice and will be assigned to the kitchen. Arya says she'd rather tend the horses, thinking she could steal one and escape. Hara slaps her so hard that her lip breaks again and commands her to shut up as nobody is interested in her views. Arya thinks that Hara wouldn't dare slap her if she still had needle. Amabel explains that Lord Tywin has grooms and squires to look after the horses, and that the kitchen would have been a nice place for Arya, as it is snug and clean and one can always find a warm place to sleep there. However, Arya doesn't seem to be smart, so they should give her over to Wheeze, Amabel suggests. They send her off with a rough spun garb and ill-fitting shoes. Wheeze turns out to be the understeward of the Wailing Tower, a squat man with a carbuncle on the nose and angry red boils at the corner of his lips. He tells the 6 assigned to him that the Lannisters are generous to those who serve them well, a fate none of them deserve. If they do well, they might rise one day as high as he did. However, if they intend to presume on Lord Tywin's kindness, they'll have to deal with Wheeze. They are told they are not to look the highborn in the eye, are only to speak when spoken to, and should not get in Lord Tywin's way. Wheeze says he can smell defiance, pride, and disobedience, and if he does, they'll have to answer for it. All he wants to sniff of them is fear. There is a large celebration for their arrival at Qarth, apparent as Daenerys' Khalasar approaches the city, and a column of cavalry rides from the city to provide her an honor guard. The warlock Pied Pri told Daenerys that Qarth is the greatest city, a crossroads, and ancient. Upon seeing the city, Daenerys has to admit the city is magnificent. It has 3 thick walls. The first is 30 feet high and made of red sandstone carved with animals. The second, 40 feet high and made of granite carved with scenes of war, and the third, 50 feet high, made of black marble carved with scenes of sex. Qartheen lined the streets and balconies to watch them pass, black Drogon on her shoulder. The women are in gowns that bare one breast, and the men wear beaded silk shirts, while the children wear only sandals and paint. Daenerys thinks how the Dothraki called these people milkmen for their skin, and how Khal Drogo dreamed of sacking the great city. The merchant prince, Zarozon Daxos, rides up on his camel, which the Dothraki horses shy away from. He tells Daenerys that if she desires anything she sees, it is hers. Pied Priest sings from her other side, "Qarth itself is hers. She has no need of baubles, and she should come to the house of the Undying to drink wisdom and truth." Daenerys tells them both that she only wants the Red Keep in King's Landing, and if they want to give her gifts, to give her ships and swords. Piet states that it will be as she commands, and the other compliments her on her wisdom. Zarozon Daxos warns her that warlocks are not to be trusted. The two continue to bicker until Ser Jorah Mormont mutters in the common tug, "The crow calls the raven black," that she should avoid both men, and that it would be best not to linger here. Daenerys, however, wants their help in winning her throne. Daenerys expected something grand when Zarozon Daxos offered the hospitality of his home, but not a palace larger than a market town, with an entire wing given over to her. He tells her that there will be a feast the next day with delicacies and music, and the 13 will come to do her honor. Zarozon Daxos and Piet depart. The last of the 3 seekers, the Shadowbinder Quaithe, gives Daenerys a warning to beware of everyone, for they all lust for the power of her dragons, and then departs. After Quaithe leaves, Ser Jorah states she is right, but he also does not trust her. Daenerys admits that she does not understand Quaithe. While the others shower her in promises, she has only cryptic words. It also concerns her that she has not seen her face. Then Daenerys declares that they will keep their own watch and will keep a sharp eye on the dragons. After Aggo confirms it will be done, she tells Rakaro to use good men and women to explore the rest of Qarth, since they only seen the parts that the Seekers wanted them to see. She then asks Ser Jorah to go to the docks to get news of the Seven Kingdoms, and maybe find a ship to carry them home. Ser Jorah tells her the usurper will kill her, and wants to stay with her, but she tells him that Jogo can guard her, and he has the languages and more experience with the sea. After they leave, her handmaidens strip her of her travel-stained silks, and she bathes in a marble pool with golden fish. She wonders if the Red Keep has a pool like this with fragrant gardens, remembering Viserys says that the Seven Kingdoms are the most beautiful place in the world. She also thinks she no longer has Drogo's Khalasar behind her, only her 4 fierce blood riders, and that the Dothraki plundered but do not know how to govern. She ponders Ser Jorah's words, "The usurper will kill you." She then thinks about Robert Baratheon, strong as a bull, fearless in battle and loving war, who killed her brother Rhaegar Targaryen, and his dogs, Eddard Stark, Tywin Lannister, and Jaime Lannister. How will she overthrow them? Even her dragons might not be enough. Viserys was a fool, believed the realm would rise for their rightful king. She then decides that the Bleeding Star has led her to Qarth for a purpose, and if the gods intend for her to conquer, they will send a sign. Near evenfall, Irri brings word that Ser Jorah has returned. He enters with Khuru Mo, captain of the Cinnamon Wind, out of the Tall Trees town. Daenerys has her dragons all around her. He has the news that Robert Baratheon is dead, reported in Old Town, Dorne, and Lys. They're all tales that the Queen, his brother, Stannis Baratheon, or Renly Baratheon, or Eddard Stark betrayed him. Joffrey Baratheon sits on the throne with House Lannister ruling. Robert's brothers have fled, and the hand of the king has been seized for treason. Jorah does not think it is likely that Eddard is a traitor, says the long summer will come again before he besmirches his honor. Daenerys wonders if her brother would have been wiser had he known that vengeance was so close at hand. When asked, the captain replies he is not returning to Westeros for a year or more, since his ship will sail east from Qarth, making the trader circle around the Jade Sea. When Daenerys states he has brought her a precious gift, he tells her that he has been amply repaid by being allowed to see dragons. She asks him to come to her one day in King's Landing. After the trader leaves, Ser Jorah warns Daenerys of speaking so freely. Daenerys replies that the Seven Kingdoms are flying to pieces like the Khalasar did after Khal Drogo died. Ser Jorah tells her that she will still need gold, armies, and ships. Daenerys responds that she knows this, but she is the blood of the dragon. Jorah goes on to say that King Robert killed a dragon with a warhammer. To this she replies, the dragons die, but so do dragon slayers. Meera, armed with a 3-pronged frog spear and a net, is facing Summer in the Godswood. Summer charges past the spear, but is entangled in the net as he slams into her. Bran tells her that she loses, but Jojen, whom Old Nan calls little grandfather because he is so somber, points out that Summer is entangled in the net. After disentangling the wolf and Bran calling to him, she asks if Summer ever grows angry. Bran tells her not with him, and he has never drawn blood. Meera is still worried, but Bran assures her that he would not have drawn her blood. He knows and likes her. Bran thinks about how Meera is so like his sister Arya, and tells them that he wishes they were their wards instead of Big Walder and Little Walder. They have stayed after all the others have gone, and have become his constant companions. Bran tells Meera he has never heard of anyone fighting with a net, and asks if their master in arms taught her. She tells him her father taught her, and that they have no knights or ravens at Greywater Watch. The island moves so neither ravens nor enemies can find it. When Bran asks if he would be welcome at Greywater Watch after the hostilities end, they assure him that their Lord Father would welcome him any time, and that leaving Winterfell sooner rather than later would be good for him. It is revealed that the Bastard of Bolton has forcibly taken Lady Hornwood as his wife after the Harvest Feast, that Lord Manderly took her castle to protect it, and Sir Roderick has gone east to settle the uprising and see that justice is done. Bran could ask Sir Roderick about visiting the Reeds when he returns. Mira reveals that Jojen has the green sight. He has dreams of things that have not happened, but sometimes do. Jojen corrects this by saying they always do. Bran asks to hear about the dreams, and is told that Jojen will, but only if Bran tells them about his own dreams. Bran denies he has dreams, saying that Maester Luwin gives him sleeping draughts, which he admits help only sometimes. Mira tells him that everyone in the castle hears him scream when he sleeps. Bran does not tell, but is interested in what dreams Jojen has had. Jojen thinks that Bran is the winged wolf bound to earth by chains. He also states that a crow is trying to peck through the chains, but his beak can only chip them. When asked if the crow has 3 eyes, Jojen nods. The crow first came to Jojen when he almost died of grey water fever, and to Bran after he fell. It told him he had to fly, but when Bran woke, he was broken and couldn't fly. After hearing this, Jojen is sure that Bran is the winged wolf, and they tell Bran that the 3-eyed crow is not in Greywater Watch, but north beyond the wall. When their father heard Jojen's dreams, he sent them to Winterfell. When Bran asks how he will break the chains, he is told to open his eye, not the 2 that are open, but the 3rd one. When he opens his 3rd eye, he will be able to see south to the summer sea and north beyond the wall. Bran decides that he is tired of talking of crows and wants to talk about something else, and then ask about lizard lions. However, Jojen keeps asking Bran about his dreams, whether he has dreamed he was Summer, and then reveals that when he touched Summer the night of the harvest feast, he felt Bran in Summer, and that he felt Bran fall. He then asks if falling scares Bran. Bran thinks of the Golden Man, and that he scares him. He has not been able to tell Sir Roderick or Maester Luwin, so cannot tell the Reeds either. Jojen continues by asking if he falls every night, and there is a low rumbling growl from Summer. Mira puts herself between Summer and her brother and asks Bran to keep the wolf back. Bran claims that Jojen is making Summer angry, but Mira responds that it is him that Jojen is making angry, his fear. She tells Bran that he and Summer are part of each other. Shaggy Dog arrives. The direwolf lunges, and Mira tells Bran to call them off, but he does not know how, and Jojen tells Bran that Summer is reacting to his anger. Mira tells her brother to climb the tree. Jojen responds that it is not his day to die, but complies, and Mira follows. Bran has been unable to call off the wolves, but remember he is not alone and calls to Hodor. When Hodor appears, Bran tells him to chase the wolves away, which he gleefully does. When Jojen returns to the ground, he never takes his eyes off Summer, as he tells Bran that they will talk again. Bran only thinks that it was the wolves, not him, and tells Hodor to bring him to Maester Luwin. When he is with Maester Luwin, he tells him that Mira said her brother has the green sight. Luwin explains that their wise men call such people green seers. He then tells Bran that nobody truly knows what it is, but that the first men thought the green seers could see through the eyes of the weirwood, which is why the men cut down the trees, and that they have control over animals and fish. When asked, Bran tells the Maester that Jojen only claims to have dreams that sometimes come true. The Maester tells Bran that everyone has dreams that come true, like when he and Rickon dreamed their father was in the crypts before they knew he was dead. He then asks Bran whether he remembers the meaning of the metals of a Maester's chain. Black iron for ravenry, silver, healing, gold, sums. Luwin pulls his chain around his neck to reveal a link made of Valyrian steel, and tells Bran that it signifies the study of the higher mysteries, magic. This is a study of small use that Maesters trouble with. He goes on to say that magic may have once been a mighty force, but no longer. Valyria was its last ember, and dragons, the children, and giants are no more. Jojen does not have the green sight, since no living man has that power. Bran tells Mira what the Maester said when she comes to him at dusk, and that Summer should not have tried to hurt Jojen, but Jojen should not have made the comments about his dreams. The crow lied, and so did Jojen that Bran could fly. Mira suggests that the Maester may be wrong, but Bran replies that he is not, and that his father depended on him. She leaves him with another of Jojen's dreams, that one day soon, Maester Lewin will serve him a king's cut of the roast at a great feast, but the portion he gives to the Walders will be grey and dead, yet they will like their meal better than he. That night Bran is almost afraid to sit at supper, but everyone is served the same, and there is nothing wrong with the food served the Walders. Bran is relieved. Nothing bad is coming to Winterfell, but he is disappointed also. So long as there is magic, anything can happen. He will never walk, fly, or be a knight. Tyrion is informed by a sleepy Podrick Payne that Lancel Lannister has arrived. Tyrion is not bothered by the late hours since he usually works well into the morning, reading Varys' Whisperer's reports or going over Littlefinger's accounts. He figures, however, that Cersei is expecting Lancel's late arrival would catch him less alert. Tyrion takes his time and roughens his hair to make it look like he has been woken from his sleep. Tyrion warmly greets Lancel, who has been pacing. Lancel tells him that Cersei commands that Pycelle be released, handing Tyrion her warrant. Tyrion tells Lancel he hopes she is not overtaxing herself. He would not want to see a relapse. After being assured that she is recovered, Tyrion states it is music to his ears, thinking he should have given her a larger dose. Tyrion offers Lancel mulled wine to help him sleep, as he rejects the offer, having not come to drink. Tyrion states that wine has its dangers, and that he would have thought if Cersei was so concerned about Pycelle, she would have come herself. Lancel tells Tyrion just to release the prisoner with a sneer, that the queen is Joffrey's regent. Tyrion replies that he is Joffrey's hand. Lancel replies the hand serves. The regent rules until the king is of age. And Tyrion says maybe he should write it down so he can remember, and tells Podrick to leave. After Pod leaves, Lancel states that Sir Jacelyn Bywater defied a command in the king's name, and that Cersei demands he be removed and charged with treason. Tyrion thinks that it means that Cersei has already ordered Pycelle's release, and Bywater rebuffed her. When Lancel threatens Tyrion, Tyrion responds that he will hear no warning from a boy. Lancel touches the sword and warns Tyrion to watch his words. Tyrion in turn warns him that a cry from him, Shagga will break in and kill Lancel with an axe and not a wineskin. Lancel, incensed, tells Tyrion that he is a knight. Tyrion asks if Cersei had him knighted before or after she took him to bed. Lancel says nothing, and Tyrion can tell from his eyes that Varys was right. When Tyrion comments, Lancel demands Tyrion withdraw his filthy accusations. Before he can finish, Tyrion mentions the result if Joffrey discovers he murdered his father to bed his mother. Lancel's courage deserts him as he insists to Tyrion that Tywin Lannister commanded Lancel to do everything that Cersei told him when he was assigned squire to King Robert I Baratheon. Tyrion asks if Tywin told him to fuck Cersei also, noting that Lancel looks somewhat like Jaime, but a poor copy. Lancel starts to say he only did as he was bid, to which Tyrion adds that he must have hated every instant of a high place in court, knighthood, and Cersei opening her legs, and then threatens to go to the king. Lancel begs for mercy as Tyrion continues his threats to go to the king, whom he is duty-bound to inform. When Lancel states he will end it, Tyrion tells him no, that he will stay close to Cersei, be a spy for him, and tell no one. Lancel agrees, and Tyrion orders him to drink to their understanding. Tyrion then tells Lancel that he could do well out of this, and that knighthood is nothing. Then he orders him to tell the queen he begs her forgiveness, and he will let her have Pycelle to do with however she will, but he will not be on the council. With respect to Sir Jacelyn Bywater, Lancel is to assure the queen that he thinks he can win him away from Tyrion. Tyrion also notes he does not want another nephew. Lancel tells him that there is no need for concern since Cersei has him spill his seed on her belly. After he leaves, Tyrion thinks it fortunate that Lancel's father, Kevan Lannister, has 2 other sons, since in Tyrion's view, Cersei will kill Lancel if she finds out he is betraying her, and even if Lancel survives the war, he will never survive Jaime's return to King's Landing, the only question being whether Jaime kills Lancel in a jealous rage or Cersei kills him to stop Jaime from finding out. Tyrion privately bets on Cersei. Tyrion cannot get to sleep, So he sends Podrick, who was asleep, to summon Bran and get 2 horses saddled. When Bran arrives, he asks, "Who pissed in your soup?" To which Tyrion answers Cersei. He states he should be used to the taste and that she seems to have mistaken him for Eddard Stark. Bran replies that he was tall, to which Tyrion responds, "Not after Joffrey took off his head." They leave through the postern gate, then down Shadowblack Lane to the foot of Aegon's High Hill onto Pig Run Alley. Tyrion reflects that the men that have been have been no match for Cersei because they were too honest. The only way to defeat Cersei is to play her own game. In the crowded brothel, they are met by Shataya, who leads them to the common room and serves them wine, apologizing for the quality. She cannot find good wine at any price, which Tyrion understands. As Tyrion waits, Dancy slides onto his lap, saying she has a cure for him feeling unloved. He tells her that he has grown fond of Alayaya's remedy. When Alayaya arrives, she leads him up the stairs and tells him that Dancy has a bet with Mare and has only a fortnight before she loses her black pearls. She leads him to the tower room, telling him that she will sleep while he is gone before he disappears down the shaft to the tunnel. As he leaves the stables on his gelding, he hears music that reminds him of the words Tysha sung to him, who was a lie, a whore Jaime had hired to make him a man. He arrives at the manse, which has been arranged by Varys as a place to sequester Shae. He told Varys he wanted her protected by ugly, scared men who did not like having sex with women. She is now protected by a Braavosi daggerman with a har lip and a lazy eye, 1 eunuch strangler, and a pair of foul-smelling Ibonese who are fond of axes and each other. If Tyrion had her guarded by his clansmen, it would only be a matter of time before everyone knew of his concubine. He enters the room not intending to disturb Shae, but the sight of her nude body makes him hard. He spreads her legs and starts to lick her until his beard is soaked, and then enters her and explodes almost at once. She opens her eyes and tells him she just had the sweetest dream. Tyrion thinks of the wars and intrigues and that he was made for this. Arya wonders what King Harrenhal meant to name the 5 towers of Harrenhal, but they are now known as the Tower of Dread, the Widow's Tower, the Wailing Tower, the Tower of Ghosts, and King's Spire Tower since the burning of Harrenhal. She now sleeps in a niche in the vaults beneath the Wailing Tower. The work is hard, but no harder than the miles she was walking every day, and she can wash and the food is filling. She does not need to find bugs to eat. Hot Pie is assigned to the kitchens and Gendry to the forge, while Arya works for the understeward Wheeze doing errands, running messages, drawing water, fetching food, and sometimes serving tables in the barracks hall. Arya hates Wheeze and adds him to her list of names. She occasionally gets to see Hot Pie when she is sent to fetch food for Wheeze and his charges. Arya does not want to learn the names of Wheeze's other charges since it hurts when people she knows die. Lady Shellawent only occupied parts of 2 towers, letting the rest of the castle go to ruin. She left a small staff when she fled, inadequate for the host that now occupies the castle. As a result, the Lannisters have to forage for servants to make more of Harrenhal habitable. Harrenhal covers 3 times the area of Winterfell, but its buildings are much grander. The stables handle 1,000 horses, the Godswood covers 20 acres, the kitchen is as large as Winterfell's Great Hall, and the Hall of the 100 Hearths could handle Tywin's entire host. Some claim the ghost of Harren the Black and his sons occupy the Wailing Tower, but Arya knows that they died in the Kingspire Tower. The wailings from the wind and the ghosts never trouble her. However, she fears living men, including Sir Gregor Clegane and Tywin Lannister, who keep their apartments in the Kingspire Tower. She considers marching up to Tywin and telling him who she is, but figures she would never get close enough to him, and if she did, he would not believe her, and she would get a beating from Wheeze, whom she fears more than the mountain. He hits at the slightest provocation. On the road to Harrenhal, she felt like a sheep, but now she feels like a mouse. The lords and ladies never notice the gray mice under their feet, and Arya hears many secrets just by listening as she does her duties. The slut, Pretty Pia, is working her way through every night. The wife of the gaoler is pregnant either by Sir Alan Stackspear or a singer White Smile. Lord Leo Lefford keeps a candle lit by his bed because of the ghost. Sir Donover Squire George cannot hold his water at night. The cook spit on the despised Sir Harren Swift's food, and Maester Tothmuir's serving girl told her brother that Tywin has ordered the Maester to burn a message claiming that Joffrey is a bastard and never to speak of it again. She also hears from Wheeze that Stannis Baratheon and Renly Baratheon are both kings and have joined the fighting. Many of the Lannister men question how long Joffrey can hold the throne, protected only by gold cloaks and ruled by a eunuch, a dwarf, and a woman. There have also been a number of reports of Beric Dondarrion being killed by the Bloody Mummers, but he has already supposedly been killed by Amory Lorch at Rushing Falls and twice by the Mountain. A fortnight later, the queerest collection of men Arya has ever seen arrives, the Bloody Mummers. Wheeze assures her that she does not want to know them, and is told they are called the Footmen, Toes of the Goat, and Lord Tywin's Bloody Mummers. They call themselves the Brave Companions, and their leader is the very tall, stick-thin Vargo Hoat. They are housed in the Widow's Tower, for which Arya is thankful. On their first night, Sir Harris Swift's squire is killed and 2 of the Bloody Mummers are wounded. Tywin hangs both with one of Lord Lewin Leiden's archers, who is supposed to have started the trouble. They do not stay long, but before they leave, she hears that Roose Bolton has occupied the Ruby Ford and her brother is in Riverrun, which is much closer than Winterfell, but she does not know where it lies in relation to Harrenhal. If she could only get away. She learns that there are captives from the Battle of the Green Fork. They have been given freedom of the castle in return for a pledge that they will not attempt to escape, but Arya is hoping they can help her escape. There are 3 Frey brothers and their bastard brother, but they are soon ransomed. There is also a very fat lordling who is always in the kitchen, one that wears a black cloak with white suns, and Lord Medgar Serwyn, whom she recognizes. She figures she can get aid from Lord Serwyn, but learns later that he died from his wounds. Arya hears all sorts of rumors about Lord Tywin's plans. Lord Tywin spends his days with his war council. Arya often catches sight of him and thinks he is strong looking for an old man, and his face reminds her of her father, although they look nothing alike, and she could never picture Tywin laughing. Sir Amory Lorch arrives one afternoon, looking less frightening in the daylight. He has fewer men than she remembers, and many wounded. She is told that they rode all the way around the lake chasing Beric Dondarrion and slaying rebels. Arya figures they are talking about the men of the Night's Watch. At the end of the column, she sees Jaqen H'ghar, Rorge, and Biter, with his body covered in half-healed wounds. Jaqen H'ghar still smiles, and his clothes are filthy, but his hair washed and brushed. His eyes pass right over Arya, and she thinks he did not even notice her. Arya thinks Gendry was right, and she should have let them die. That night, she says the names again: Wheeze, Dunson, Chiswick, Polliver, Raff the Sweetling, the Tickler, the Hound, Sir Gregor, Sir Amory Lorch, Sir Ilyn, Sir Meryn, and King Joffrey and Queen Cersei. She thinks she might add the 3 names to the list, but she is too tired to decide. She is dreaming of wolves in the wild when she wakes with Jaqen H'ghar's hand over her mouth. He notes that the boy Ari became a girl, and revealing that he did see her that afternoon. He then explains that she saved 3 lives, thus he has to repay her by taking 3 lives of her choice in order to appease the Red God. When Arya asks him to take her to Riverrun, he replies that he will take 3 lives for her, nothing more, and gives her some time to decide whom to kill. Then he leaves before she can even light her candle. The next morning, Arya yawns in Wheeze's presence, and he warns her not to let her mouth drop open again, telling her he will feed her tongue to his bitch and twist her ear to make certain she heard. As she works, she thinks of whom she wants dead, and that, being at war, she should try to kill as many Lannisters as she could, but her father personally killed those he condemned to death. She is not sure she should trust Jaqen and avoids him for a while, which is not hard to do. Sir Gregor returns, and we send Arya to see if they have clothes that need mending. She arrives to find Chiswick talking and does not want to interrupt because she might be hit. He is talking about when he was returning from the tourney of the hand with Sir Gregor, Raff, Joss Stillwood, and Aegon. They stopped at an alehouse where the brewer did not stop talking. They knew better than to talk because the mountain was seething over the joust with the Night of Flowers. The brewer's girl was serving and they were touching her. Finally, Josh put his hand up her skirt and she screamed, running to the kitchen. The brewer went to Sir Gregor and asked that his men leave the girl alone. Sir Gregor had the girl brought before him, paid the brewer a silver, and raped her right there. Her brother ran in from the cellar and Raph stabbed him with a dirk. After Sir Gregor was done, Tobot and Chiswick continued to rape her. Sir Gregor told the brewer the girl was not worth a silver and demanded change, and the brewer gave it to him. They all roar with laughter at the story while Arya sneaks away. When Wheeze learns she did not ask about the mending, he beats her bloody. 2 days later, she sees Jock and Hagar in the barracks hall. Ensuring that Wheeze is not around, she works her way down to him, filling wine cups until she reaches him and whispers Chiswick in his ear. He gives no sign that he heard, and nothing happens until the third day when she hears that a man fell off the wall walk the previous night. Some are saying Harren's ghost flung him down, and Arya thinks that she is the ghost in Harrenhal, and there is one less name on her list. Hollis Mullen announces to Catelyn that they are the first to arrive at an area where the trees have been cut down by Stannis Baratheon's foragers to build siege equipment. Sir Wendon Manderly tells Catelyn that this is not their fight, and Catelyn replies that they were sent here by Robb Stark, and for the good of the realm it must be done. But forging a peace between the brothers will not be easy. She would prefer to be with her dying father Hoster Tully in Riverrun or back in Winterfell. In the distance, she can see Storm's End and Stannis' army looking small and insignificant under its walls. Catelyn thinks about the history of Storm's End and of the love between the first Storm King, Durin, and Elenai, the daughter of the sea god and the goddess of the wind. After the wedding, Elenai yielded her maidenhood and immortality. Her parents unleashed storm and wind to destroy Durin's hold, killing all but Durin and his wife, who had protected him within her arms. It was the 7th castle he built that managed to withstand the storms. It is said that this castle was built with the help of the children of the forest, or a child that became known as Brandon the Builder. Stannis is the first to arrive with a red priestess as his standard bearer. Catelyn knows that Renly will be last. Stannis expresses his surprise to find her here and gives his condolences for her husband Eddard, though he notes Stark was no friend of his. Stannis is not grateful for Eddard's part in breaking the siege, saying it was on Robert Baratheon's command. He holds it against Eddard that he took the position of Hand of the King, which he did not even want. Stannis tells her that regardless of his feelings for her husband, Catelyn will have justice for his murder. She responds that Renly promised the same, but she would prefer her daughters back. Stannis promises that her daughters will be found when he takes King's Landing. Catelyn thinks his tone implies dead or alive and tells him that King's Landing is closer to Dragonstone, but he is at Storm's End. He replies that he needs the power of the Southern Lords to take King's Landing, and so he must take them from his brother, who owes him loyalty and obedience as his elder and rightful king. Stannis then asks if Robb has thrown his lot in with Renly, and is told he is king of the north by the wills of the lords and people, and only holds his lands out in friendship. Stannis replies that kings have no friends, only subjects and enemies. At this point, Renly's party arrives with Brienne of Tarth bearing the banner. Renly asks about Stannis' sigil, and the priestess replies it is the fiery heart of the Lord of Light. Renly says it is just as well, since if they had the same banner, the battle would be confused. Catelyn expresses hope that there will be no battle, and Stannis states that the Iron Throne is his by rights, and those who deny this are his foes. Catelyn tells him that this is folly, with the Kingslayer's host reforming at the Golden Tooth, another Lannister host gathering at Casterly Rock, and Tywin Lannister at Harrenhal with 20,000 men, and the Lannisters hold King's Landing. Renly immediately demands that Stannis bend his knee to him, and Stannis absolutely refuses, stating he is the eldest and denouncing Renly as a usurper. Renly responds that the Targaryens called Robert a usurper, and he bore up under the shame. Catelyn tries to convince them to be reasonable, only to be rebuked by Stannis, who asserts that he is the rightful king. Stannis also adds that he considers her son no less a traitor than Renly and promises to deal with Robb in due time. Catelyn asks how he is the rightful kin, given that Robert has 2 sons, at which Renly laughs, stating that she has not seen Stannis' letter. Stannis tells Catelyn that Joffrey and his siblings are not Robert's seed, but bastards born of incest between Cersei and her brother. Catelyn asks why Stannis kept this knowledge to himself, and is told that he approached Jon Arryn since he figured that Robert would be more willing to listen to Jon, whom he loved, as opposed to Stannis, from which such accusation would seem self-serving. Renly points out that Jon is dead, and Stannis states that his death was not by happenstance, that Cersei poisoned him. Catelyn, immediately putting the pieces together, adds that her sister Lysa accused the queen of killing her husband. Renly tells Stannis that he may have the greater right, but Renly has the bigger army. Renly reaches under his cloak, and Stannis immediately goes for his sword, but Renly only brings out a peach, offering it to Stannis. Stannis retorts he did not come here to eat fruit, and Renly replies a man should never refuse a peach because life is short, as the Starks say, winter is coming. Stannis thinks this is a threat, but Renly states it was not, and he tells Stannis he never liked him, but he is of his blood, and if it is Storm's End he he will give it to him. Stannis refuses, saying it is his. Renly states he refuses a peach, a castle, and did not come to his wedding. Stannis sneers that the wedding was a farce, considering Renly married a woman he was scheming to make one of Robert's whores a year before. Renly corrects this, saying he was going to make Margaery Tyrell his queen, but Robert was killed by a boar, so he got Margaery. He reveals he plans to have a son with her within a year, and then asks Stannis how many sons he has, telling him that if he had a wife that looked like Stannis's, he would send his fool to service her as well. Infuriated, Stannis draws his blade, which shines strangely, roaring that he will not tolerate Renly mocking him to his face, but Brienne moves between them. Stannis tells Renly that he will not kill Renly with Lightbringer, and will give him till dawn to pledge to him for the sake of their late mother. In return, Stannis will grant him Storm's End, a seat on the council, and name him his heir until he has a son. Otherwise, he will destroy Renly. Renly laughs, pointing out that he has the strength in banners. House Rowan, House Tarly, House Karen, House Tarth, House Penrose, House Fossaway, House Kai, House Malindor, House Estermont, House Selmy, House Hightower, House Oakhart, House Crane, House Caswell, House Blackbar, House Morgan, House Beesbury, House Shermer, House Dunn, House Footley, and Stannis' wife, House Florent. What is present is only the vanguard, with 100,000 foot still to arrive. After exchanging taunts, Stannis gallops away, the Red Priestess staying long enough to say before leaving, "Look to your own sins, Lord Renly." Catelyn tells Renly that his brother is the lawful heir if Joffrey is Jaime's son. Renly replies this is true while he lives, and asks if Catelyn would agree that it is a fool's law, since he would be a better king than either Robert or Stannis. He will be a great king. Strong yet generous, clever, just, diligent, loyal to my friends and terrible to my enemies, yet capable of forgiveness, patient. Catelyn adds, humble? Renly laughs and states, "You must allow a king some flaws, my lady." Catelyn feels very tired. She has failed, and her son will have to face the Lannisters alone while the Baratheon brothers destroy each other. She thinks how much Renly is like his brother Robert, but Robert had Eddard to temper him. Eddard would have prevailed on Robert to bring the whole force to besiege Stannis, the besieger, instead of forging ahead with only the horses and no fodder. Now he must come to battle soon or starve. Catelyn accompanies Renly back to his pavilion, sending Hal Mullen to tend to the horses. Once inside, Renly states his brother has not changed, and since he will not take his gift, maybe he should fight. Lord Mathis Rowan points out that the castle is well provisioned and has a strong garrison under Sir Courtney Penrose. They could let Stannis have a profitless siege. Renly, however, is concerned the men will say he fears Stannis. Lord Randall Tarly thinks they cannot leave him unbloodied, since he may grow stronger than Renly, and the others seem to agree. Renly decides they will fight. At this, Catelyn sees no point in returning to Riverrun, so she asks to leave, but is told she cannot. She must watch so she can tell her son what happens to rebels. Renly then gives command of the center to Lord Mathis Rowan, the left to Bryce Caron, and the reserve to Lord Eldon Estermont, while Renly takes the right. Lord Mathis Rowan asks who will have the van, and Sir John Fosway first asks the honor, but Sir Guyard the Green states that it should be one of the 7. Randall Tarley states he led Mace Tyrell's van since before most of those present were born. After a clamor fills the pavilion, Renly gives the honor to Sir Loras Tyrell. Sir Loras accepts and asks for one of his knights to ride beside him, so that the Stag and Rose can go to battle side by side. Renly gives Brienne this honor. She wants to fight by his side, but is told that there are 4 of the Rainbow Guard that will fight beside him. She accepts the duty, but requests that she arm him for battle. Renly accepts. Catelyn can hear someone snigger. Renly then asks them to leave him. Before she leaves, Catelyn asks to visit a sept she saw in a village, and Renly tells Sir Roybar Royce to provide an escort, but to return by dawn. Catelyn tells him he should also pray, not for victory but for wisdom. Renly tells Sir Loras to remain with him to help him pray. Sir Roybar Royce is a member of the Rainbow Guard, and Catelyn knows him slightly, that he is known for his skill in the tourney, the son of Jan Royce, bannerman to House Arryn. She asks him about this, and he says his father owes fealty as does his heir, but he is a second son. He is tired of tourneys and looking for glory. She arrives at her camp to find Shad preparing the meal, Hal Mullen dicing with 3 of his men, and Lucas Blackwood sharpening his dagger. Lucas asks if they fight or flee. She says they pray. Sandor Clegane is telling Sansa that if she keeps Joffrey waiting, it will only be worse. As Sansa is making herself pretty for Joffrey, she wonders if Joffrey has heard about her meeting with Sir Dantos. As they are walking, Sansa asks the hounds what she has done, and is told that it is what her kingly brother Robb Stark has done. Sansa tells the hound that Robb is the traitor and she had no part. She can only think that if Robb harmed Jaime Lannister, she will have to face Sir Ilyn Payne. The hound tells her again that they trained her well, calling her a little bird. She is led to the lower bailey where a crowd is gathered. She can hear Lord Giles Rosby coughing as they part to let her pass. Sir Horace Redwyne and Hobart Redwyne avoid her gaze as she passes. There is a cat shot by a bolt mewling on the ground. Sir Dantos, riding a broomstick as commanded by the king, whispers to her to be brave. In the center stands Joffrey with Sir Boros Blount and Sir Meryn Trent beside him. She kneels before him, but Joffrey snaps that kneeling will not save her, and she must answer for her brother's treasons. She is slow to get up, and the hound, not urgently, pulls her up when commanded. Sir Lancel Lannister now speaks to her, claiming that Robb fell upon Sir Stafford Lannister with an army of wargs near Lannisport using some sorcery. Thousands of men were butchered as they slept. According to Lancel, the Northmen feasted on their flesh after the slaughter. Joffrey asks if she has anything to say. Sir Dantos tells him that she is shocked witless. Joffrey then brings up that her direwolf savaged him, and Sansa retorts that it was Arya's wolf Nymeria, and that he killed Lady even though she never hurt him. Joffrey replies that it was Eddard Stark that killed Lady, and he killed him. Joffrey then recounts how he shot a man in the throat at the gates that was bigger than her father. He would shoot her also, but Cersei says they will kill Jaime. He then commands the hound to hit Sansa, but Sir Dantos interferes by whacking her over the head with his Morning Star, a melon on the end of a stick. People are laughing, but despite Sansa's prayers, Joffrey does not. Instead, he calls to his Kingsguard, telling them to save her face. Sir Meryn Trent flings Dantos down while Sir Boros slams a fist into Sansa's belly, and then starts to lay the flat of his blade across her thighs. The hound rasps, "Enough!" But the king orders Boros to make her naked, and he tears the silk of her bodice, exposing her breasts. She can hear sniggers as Joffrey orders her beat bloody. At that point, a voice demands, "What is the meaning of this?" Sansa looks to see the arrival of a furious Tyrion Lannister, flanked by his sellsword and one of his tribesmen, who demands Blount tell him What sort of knight beats helpless maids? Sir Boris replies, one that serves his king, drawing his sword, with Sir Meryn stepping beside him. Bran warns them to be careful, as they don't want to get blood all over their white cloaks. Tyrion asks for someone to give Sansa something to cover herself with, and Sandor tosses her his cloak. Tyrion then asks Joffrey whether he has no regard for her honor, considering that she is to be his queen one day. Joffrey replies that he is punishing her for having the blood of the wolf, and Tyrion replies that Joffrey has the wits of a goose. Joffrey insists that the king can do as he likes, and Tyrion asks if he knows what happened to Aerys II Targaryen, who also did what he liked. Sir Boris warns Tyrion that no one is to threaten the king, but Tyrion responds he is only educating him, and then tells Bran and Timett to kill Sir Boris if he opens his mouth again. When Sir Boris, turning red, states the queen will hear of this, Tyrion asks if they should send for Cersei. When Joffrey has nothing to say, Tyrion tells him to learn to use his ears more and his mouth less, lest his reign be shorter than Tyrion himself. He points out that the brutality will not win his people's love, nor his queen's. Joffrey replies that Cersei taught him to value fear over love, and Sansa fears him. Tyrion only notes that it is a pity Stannis and Renly are not 12-year-old girls as well. Tyrion then continues by ordering Bran and Timett to bring Sansa. They take her to the Tower of the Hand. She is shaking and moving as if she were in a dream. Serving girls clean her up, and Maester Franken treats her wounds. Sansa thinks how the Hound hated knights, and now she hates them also, and she does not believe they are true knights. She sleeps. She wakes that night, and her legs pain when she gets up. Outside her door, she finds a woman whom she tells she wants to go to the Godswood. She wants to find Sir Dantos and beg him to take her home before it is too late. The woman tells her that Tyrion said she was not to leave. When food comes in the morning, she tells the servants to take it away. Later, Tyrion arrives and tells her that she is a guest, not a prisoner. Tyrion then tells the story of Robb's victory. Sir Stavrid's host was encamped outside Oxcross. He explains that there were no army of wargs or sorcery involved, as Sir Lancel claimed, as Lancel wouldn't know a warg from a wart, and according to Tyrion, sorcery is the sauce men spoon over failure to hide the flavor of their own incompetence. Robb's soldiers crept into the camp and cut the horse lines, and then Robb sent his direwolf among them, causing a stampede. The panicked horses trampled the camp, killing many. Most of the rest fled in terror, casting aside their weapons. Among the dead are Sir Stafford, killed by Lord Rickard Karstark, and Rupert Brax, Sir Lyman Vickery, Lord Craighall, and Lord Ontario Jast. 50 have been taken prisoner, including Jast's son and Martin Lannister. The incompetent Sir Stafford had not even bothered to post sentries, thinking himself safe and secure in the Westerlands, and most of his armies were raw recruits, the sweepings of Lannisport. The only mystery is how Robb reached Oxcross, since Lannister forces hold the Golden Tooth, and the men stationed there swear Robb didn't pass them. Tyrion ultimately declares it is unimportant. Robb Stark is his father's problem, while Joffrey is his. Tyrion then asks Sansa how she feels about his nephew, and she responds that she loves him with all her heart, more than ever. Tyrion is amused and tells her someone taught her to lie well, which she may be grateful for one day. He then asks if she has flowered, to which she answers no. He says that is good, and that he does not intend for her to marry Joffrey, since there will never be a reconciliation between the Lannisters and Starks with the way Joffrey has acted, calling it a pity as the marriage was one of Robert Baratheon's better notions. Sansa is concerned that this is a trick and states she only wants to be loyal. Tyrion adds, and far from any Lannisters, admits he cannot blame her, as when he was her age, he wanted the same thing. He then notes that she visits the Godswood every day and asks what she prays for. Sansa prays for Robb's victory and Joffrey's death, but claims she prays for an end to the fighting. Tyrion tells her there will be another battle between Robb and Tywin Lannister, and that will settle the issue, wanting her not to think that Oxcross was significant, and to pray that her brother bends his knee, and he will return her to Winterfell once there is peace. He offers to have some of his clansmen guard her, maybe Chella if she prefers a woman. Sansa, thinking about Sir Dantos rescuing her, tells him that the wildlings frighten her. He responds that they also frightened Joffrey and the lickspittles and sycophants who make up his king's guards, so no one would harm her. When she tells him she would prefer sleeping in her own bed, and the tower is where her father's men were slain, and their ghosts give her bad dream, he agrees to have her escorted back to her bedchamber. Well, that's it, everyone. Thank you for stopping by and watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to come back for more. Again, thank you for watching. Bye.